Welcome to my review of Cruis'N Blast for the Switch. And this is an arcade-style racer. Similar to the old Cruis'N games from the arcades years ago, and a few of them were ported over to the N64. Which I liked the first game. I thought it was pretty fun. Back then, I really enjoyed the arcade one whenever I would play it, briefly. And the N64 one, it was decent. I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. And none of them were really, I wouldn't say were great racing games, but they were pretty good for the time. But they are very loose style arcade racing games. But this is definitely by far the best one out of all the ones I played in the series, which I believe I played them all. I had not played this one. This is actually an arcade game from a few years ago. I don't think I never played this in arcades or anything like that. But I did get it for the Switch for $25, and for me, that was about the right price point for it. I really wouldn't want to pay more for it. But I did have fun with it. I thought it was quite a good game. And I do like it, but there's definitely some issues I have. It doesn't feel nearly as solid. Like, it doesn't play nearly as well as something like, MotorStorm. But even in that game, of course, you could crash very easily with the slightest little bump in the environment. So sometimes that was kind of shitty, but I still found a game like that a lot more enjoyable. Because in this game, there's a cheapness to it where it just feels like the rubber band AI is just constantly up your ass no matter what, no matter how well you do. It seems like they tuned it a little bit too much on the extreme, where it kind of takes away from playing the game actually well, because a lot of times you'll not want to use your turbo until the very end of the race, because if you use it early on, the enemies will pretty much catch up with you anyway. And that's just on normal. So, I wouldn't say the game is that hard, because once you unlock, once you max out, you can level up your cars. Once you find a car you like and you max it out, the game goes from, being pretty damn cheap to pretty damn easy. And the rest of the game was pretty much a joke at that point. So it was really unbalanced as far as, it's a little bit overly difficult. I mean, not really that difficult, but you have to grind the races a few times to break through and get a decent placing, because you'll be at the end in first place, and then everybody will just pass you at the very end, and they really just kind of stay up your ass the whole time, which I understand. Rubber band AI does give the games a competitive kind of feel where you're constantly on your toes, and it's supposed to be intense, but it feels like it's a little overdone here. So I mean, it kind of takes away the skill for me to try to actually do really well, because it just feels like they're going to catch up with you anyway, unless you have an overpowered car. Then it kind of balances things in the other direction. So I felt for those reasons it wasn't the best balanced arcade racing game, and it's nowhere close to me like games like Burnout. Maybe not the first Burnout I don't think was great, but like Burnout 3 and 4 were fucking awesome, and even Burnout Paradise, and this is nowhere on that level, or the newer Need for Speeds. The MotorStorm games were all much better than this. So, I mean, this, for me, it definitely doesn't rank up at the top of arcade racers. Otherwise I would have gladly paid full price for another game like Burnout. But it's very cool. The vehicles, they do have a little bit of a different feel to them. I mean, there's a lot of strange unlockable vehicles. Like, you can drive as a fucking dinosaur, a helicopter, and all this kind of shit. But, they don't feel hugely different. But they do have some different characteristics, like the helicopter can obviously go off-road very easily because it's not touching the ground, so it can go through off-road areas faster. But once I found one vehicle, I mean, at least on normal, I just powered it up and leveled it up. And, and that was pretty much all I needed to do to win. It did take a while to level it up, but once it was maxed out, it was very easy. I believe I beat this game in, maybe it was 3 hours or something like that. If I remember right, I listed it. I think it was 3.5 hours. But yeah, it wasn't hard once my vehicle got leveled up. As you can see, you get XP for playing each race, depending on your placing, and your vehicles will gain some experience points, which you can use to level up your vehicle while buying certain upgrades. You can buy upgrades to level up your vehicles. So there's 5 levels for each vehicle. You also unlock vehicles by grabbing keys in the stages. You can also just do key runs where you can just grab a key and just exit out of the level. It saves all that. So, I mean, that's convenient. That's good. And I do really like all the, there's always crazy shit happening in the environments as you're racing, which is cool. It definitely has that arcade feel. The environments are really cool, but one of the issues is the game recycles the tracks. I think there's only a few track variations in the game, apparently. And they just really changed the scenery of it, but it's the same kind of track layouts from what I understand. I didn't test that, but it was just something that I read about the game in a lot of reviews, and it's something that I could kind of see where the levels did feel very similar after a while. So I think they are recycling the tracks, though I can't really confirm that. So, it's always possible that I was wrong on that. But the game doesn't have a shit ton of variety, but it is cool. It has elements from Burnout where you can take out other players, but there doesn't seem to be any real benefit as far as, you can take out the racer, but they'll be back on your ass in a few seconds anyway. And you don't seem to gain any kind of turbo boost or anything for taking out enemies. So I'm not sure if there's any real advantage to it. I mean, I do it anyway just to clear out the enemies briefly. But, the game, it does have nitro that you can use. You can buy them, too, before a race. You see here I'm driving as the helicopter. So there is a variety, but like I said, the vehicles don't feel massively different. It's just a very, very kind of loose and arcadey feeling racer. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was quite good. But very far off from what I'd consider a great arcade racing game. But I thought it was a good, kind of fun game to play through once. I wasn't really motivated to play through the harder settings only because I just feel like the rubber band AI is already just very, cheap. And eventually I would break through, but it's just, I would have to grind it because the enemies would probably keep, accelerating past me at the very end. You also have a boost mechanic aside from your nitro boost. If you drift for a certain period of time, it shows a colored smoke. When that smoke turns purple after a while and you release it, you get a nice boost to speed. So drifting is also another part of something you want to kind of master to do well at the game. But like I said, it won't always matter hugely because enemies kind of just catch up to you anyway. But you still have to do well. But it does kind of take away from a lot of that, where the enemies are just always on you no matter what, pretty much. But I thought it was a fun game, definitely. I enjoyed it. I would say it would probably be worth trying to get for $20-25. I think it's a solid game for that price. I don't think it's worth any more, at least not to me. It's not a game that I would want to pay more for. But I enjoyed it, and it was good to see this kind of racer come out for the Switch, because you don't really see these kind of games anymore. So it was really a solid racing game. And if you're really into it, you can, of course, do the harder difficulties. So there is that. But for me, there wasn't a lot of replayability to it. I didn't try the multiplayer. But for me, it's a 7 out of 10. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.